Hey guys, Infamous from 123, and today I'm going to be giving you a ranked list of all the specialists, starting from number 9, which is the worst one, going down to number 1, which is the best. Now starting off this list, up at number 9, unfortunately, in my opinion, it's Nomad. Nomad I feel is the weakest character, even though he is a close second to my favorite looking character. I think he has the worst specialist abilities in the game. Now, of course, all their specialists have their benefits, but I just feel like there are too many counters to the H.I.V.E specialist, and since Reject got nerfed into Oblivion, I feel like neither of his specialists are really all that good. While the H.I.V.E specialist may get you a bunch of kills in TDM, more conscious players will easily avoid your Hive Minds, and your Hive Minds are even counterable by a perk. You can put on Engineer and you can see them through walls, and they're very clear to see if you have that perk on. Especially if you're playing objective game modes, there are much better choices than Nomad's Hive. To discuss very briefly about Nomad's Reject, I just feel like it's the worst specialist in the game. It took me quite a long time to get 20 kills with Reject for his second to last outfit. A lot of people have different opinions than myself on this, but I just think that Nomad's Reject wasn't even good before it got nerfed. Now coming up next is Prophet. Now a lot of people like his Tempest ability, but in my personal opinion, I died way too many times charging that thing up. It's not a bad specialist ability at all, and getting those chain kills is very satisfying, but in my personal opinion, it gets trumped by almost every other specialist in the game. Now, I see people saying that Glitch is one of their favorite specialist abilities, but in my personal opinion, it just takes too much skill and timing and effort to learn the specialist and to use it effectively. In my short experience with Prophet, I just didn't really want to take the time in, especially because it's pretty ugly, to actually get a handle on the Glitch ability. Just really quickly, from about number 8 to number 5 on this list, I feel like all 4 of those specialists are pretty interchangeable in their rankings, and it's mostly based upon your opinion. But my list is my list, so let's get on to number 7, Outrider. Let's talk about Vision Pulse first. I feel like a lot of people praise this one way too much, and I don't really find this very useful. Yes, you do get to see people through walls, yes, they ping on your radar, but you also ping on their radar, and a lot of the other specialist abilities give you a much better benefit, and this one recharges much slower than most of the non-lethal ones. When I see an Outrider ping their Vision Pulse on the radar, it's pretty much a fair gunfight. They don't really have an advantage over me because I know where they are as well. But enough about Vision Pulse. Let's move on to Sparrow, which is their specialist weapon. I feel like this one is possibly very strong if someone really is very good with Sparrow. But similar to Prophet's Tempest, there's delay in between kills, but you can go around corners preemptively pulling the bow back. And on top of that, it's explosive, but the blast radius isn't too significant, so it's not really anything you should be worrying about. Hitting people directly is going to be your main source of kills with the Sparrow, but I find that it's a much more skilled weapon than some of the ones later on the list. For number 6, I have Seraph, which is definitely visually my least favorite character in the game. Now the reason I put her above the past 3 is because I know a ton of people really love both of her abilities. For me, this might sound a little ridiculous, but I just can't take looking at her. I don't really like the way she looks, I don't like any of her outfits, but you know, that's just me. Aesthetics are 99% opinion. Her Annihilator pistol, while it has less ammo than most of the other specialist weapons, it's very good at taking out enemies, it's very easy to use. It doesn't take much skill other than the fact there's really no aim assist on it, but that can be dealt with just with a small amount of practice. But the ease of use doesn't shadow over the fact that it has much less killing potential than a lot of the other specialist abilities. Not being able to kill large groups of enemies in a short amount of time is definitely a downside for the Annihilator pistol. Now her combat focus ability I feel is one of the weaker non-lethal abilities. While it does build score faster and can get your score streaks quicker than you expect, I feel like it doesn't really give you an advantage in the gunfights getting those kills, so I'd rather have more survivability over more kill streaks. Now coming at number 5 is Battery, and I feel as though the War Machine is one of the most satisfying specialist abilities to use. When someone is just running up to you, and you just make their guts splatter all over the place, and you hear that very satisfying sound of them just blowing the fuck up, it is very nice. But satisfaction aside, it's very good at clearing rooms. You can just shoot a bunch of War Machines around a corner, and it will kill probably the whole room, or maybe even an objective that you're trying to get people off of. Very simple, very fun, nothing more to it. And her kinetic armor has a ton of potential as well. When you activate it, it pretty much gives you double the health, except when your enemy is shooting at your head. This gives you a huge amount of survivability, and you'll probably win every gunfight you run into while it's up. But the big downside to this is that your head is still very vulnerable. If your enemy just happens to shoot at your head, you're going to die very quickly. Moving on, we have Firebreak, which is the last specialist you unlock in the game. Now, the Purifier Flamethrower is probably one of the best abilities for clearing rooms out. In just a few seconds, you can kill a whole ground war team. And on top of that, it's extremely easy to use. But the big downside to this one is that it doesn't have much range. It's only really good up until about shotgun range, so that's a huge downside to its potential. His non-lethal ability is almost like you're dropping a flashbang at your feet, but it doesn't affect you. I don't believe it's affected by tac mask, but I could be wrong about that. All of those things aside, it's very good for defensive play. If someone's coming around a corner and you activate Heat Wave right as they pass that corner and jump out of their line of fire, you'll get a guaranteed kill. Or even if you use it offensively, if you jump into a group of enemies and activate it, you'll be able to sweep up all those kills very easily. Now, number 3 spot, Ruin, in my opinion, is the objective specialist. Being able to run at light speed with overdrive is just great for getting to objectives quickly, defending objective points that you have to run to, or even just flanking around the enemy spawn. And his gravity spikes kind of act as the opposite to his overdrive ability. Instead of getting to objectives quickly, you can just wipe the enemy team off of an objective. And with that same thought process, fuck flanking, why don't you just obliterate the enemy team with 2 button presses? Now of course they have to be in a group, but when you're playing a game mode like Safeguard or Domination, it's not really that hard to find a group of enemies. And clearing enemies off of an objective can be essential to defending the point and winning the game. Now moving on to number 2, Spectre could definitely have been lower on this list, but I just could not allow that. He is my absolute favorite specialist. His aesthetics and the fact that he kills people with arm lasers is just too cool. But it's not just aesthetics. His Ripper ability is actually very, very good. Unlike the other lethal specialist abilities, the Ripper recharges very quickly, and if you're killed during it, it doesn't take away any of your specialist progress. What I mean by that is if you get killed halfway through your Ripper ability, you keep half of the progress on your next Ripper. But that's not it. If you can manage to flank around an enemy team, you can kill them so quickly without a single one of them noticing. On screen, you can see a clip of me wiping out a whole enemy team with the Ripper ability just because they weren't looking at me. And his invisibility ability gives you a big benefit when you're sneaking around people, or if you're just facing someone head on, you have to jump on them because you'll probably get the first shot off, since for the first second of that gunfight, they don't see you. You guys might think I'm joking around when I'm saying the Ripper ability is good, but I promise you, just try it out, you'll love it. It's so much fun, and it basically gives you Commando Pro and then some. Now this one should have been very obvious to most of you, but coming in the number 1 slot is Reaper, of course. Now what is better than having a minigun? Well, a minigun in place of your hand. Now jokes aside, this thing is by far the best specialist ability in the game. Large amounts of ammo mixed with insane accuracy and ease of use, and you get a death machine. If you took the Purifier and gave it unlimited range, the Scythe is what you would get. On top of all of that, it's by far the best for killing kill streaks. I didn't really mention it much before, but the Outrider's Bow, Prophet's Tempest, and Seraph's Annihilator Pistol are all really good for taking out kill streaks, but the Scythe does what those weapons do tenfold. It's basically a wood chipper for anything in Black Ops 3. Throw anything in there, a sentry gun, a guardian, a mothership, anything, and it will come out dead. On top of all that, Reaper's Psychosis ability is nothing to laugh at either. It provides a huge distraction for the enemy team, and the enemy team basically has a 1 in 4 chance of killing you. If the enemy team is shooting at the wrong clone, the enemy team is most likely dead at that point. It's also great for sieging buildings, like if you're going to run into an objective building, just pop your Psychosis, let your clones go in there, and let people get distracted by the things that only give them 10 points when they kill them. That's it for the list. If you guys have any different opinions on the placement of these specialists, please leave a comment. All feedback is appreciated, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll see you guys next time.